Welcome to the Customer Machine Podcast, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston and Yoav Ezer. Glenn is a psychologist and marketer whose companies have sold more than $30 million in consulting and has trained thousands of marketers across different niches and industries. Yoav is a programmer turned marketer whose companies have sold over $5 million in products and services. Together, they'll teach you how to systematically stand out, attract, and convert the best customers, even in brutally competitive markets. And now, here's Glenn and Yoav.
Hey, this is Yoav. I was away last week, so Glenn interviewed renowned e-commerce expert David Rothwell. The interview was fascinating, and if you listen all the way to the end, you learn two techniques. The first technique will allow you to avoid wasting money by not letting Google show your product ads to non-buyers. The second technique will allow you to easily expand beyond product ads and make more sales and more profits. So without further ado, here's the interview.
Hey, this is the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I'm here with David Rothwell, the author of the AdWords Bible for E-commerce. How are you, David?
I'm very well, thank you, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm very happy to have you. And for those of you that don't know David, David is not only my pay-per-click manager, but is someone who I've known for, gosh, David, all the way back when we both had hair and teeth.
It's a few years now.
I think it's almost 10 years. Yeah, since the infancy of AdWords, basically.
Yeah, true.
And I've known and respected him, and kind of been a go-to guy when I've got questions about AdWords. And today, I asked David on to talk about the evolution of the product listing ads. How would you describe that for people, David?
Yeah, so we were talking a few weeks ago for your list about keyword research, and this then started to get me talking about how it all works in product listing ads and Google shopping campaigns and some other different campaign types, and how it's changed over time. It used to be that we'd just go to, well, here's a blast from the past. You remember the keyword inventory tool? What was that from? Yahoo or
inventory.overture.com?
Oh, Overture. That's it. It's so many years ago now.
You know what's really funny? I remember. I think it was John Reese said that was the stupidest page on the internet because they got so much traffic and they didn't have any advertising on it whatsoever.
I know. Bizarre. Well, we all lived and died by that thing for quite a few years, really, as the best keyword suggestion tool of its time, and even Google was in catch-up mode. They had their keywords. They had their similar sort of keyword suggestion tool, but their keyword suggestion tool has never been really that good. And we were talking about that last time, and how I don't really depend so much on the keyword suggestion tool from Google, and how, in fact, in the e-commerce arena, you very often can do without it completely and get your keywords from a different area in a different way.
So David, I just don't want to gloss over that, because first of all, I'm not sure that everybody understands what a product listing is, what the Google shopping experience is, as compared to bidding on a keyword search or bidding on a keyword in the content in the display network. So talk to me about that.
Okay, so Google. Okay, so for the longest time we've had search campaigns and we've had display campaigns, content network campaigns, and so forth, and these are all based around the idea of keywords. Somebody either searches for a keyword in Google search or a Google search partner, so that would be like a media portal or something like that with a search box on it powered by Google, or in the content display network, there would be keywords from other sources like keywords written down on the page, so contextual triggering of ads. But all of these are driven by keywords. And then along came the whole e-commerce movement from Google, and this really started off back in 2008. I was invited to a conference that Google were doing in their European HQ in Dublin, and they showed us for the first time that there were going to be these new kinds of ads showing up, which were images on the search network, and these were what were called product listing ads at the time, and these were driven out of a thing which Google had relaunched as Merchant Center. And Merchant Center started off originally as Google Base, and then it became Frugal, and then they relaunched it around, as I say, 2008 or so as Merchant Center. Merchant Center is a database, but it's a database of products, physical products, and those physical products have particular attributes like pictures, like prices, like descriptions, various other annotations that show up in the results. And for the first time, we were seeing products showing up with pictures attached to them in ways we'd never seen before. And when these first came out, Google were running them as product listing ad campaigns, and you would see them show up in the free results section of organic search as shopping results. And the thing about these kinds of campaigns is they don't have keyword lists. You do not bid on keywords. They are automatic. So Google makes a decision on which product to show, that somebody's interested in. It's still based on the fact that users type keywords, because they type keywords for gas barbecues and digital cameras and stuff like that. But there aren't any of those keywords in a list, in an ad group, in a product listing ad or shopping.
But they do rely on your description and the name of the product, don't they?
There's a number of things like that. It's again a similar sort of auction scenario in terms of there's a number of factors that will decide who gets their ad shown, and yes, keywords are there in your product titles and your product descriptions, and then of course there's your bid and the competitors' bid and so forth. But the most important point is you have an ad group, but it doesn't have any keywords in it.
So David, it's almost like I'm putting a page on the display network and I'm telling Google, I'll pay you to send people to my page. I don't have any say in which people or how you find those people, but I trust your algorithms. I know that you're going to be able to figure out what this page is about and send me good people.
That's true. Yes, it's a similar sort of scenario, and the way that these campaign types are still evolving, and when Google originally came out with product listing ad campaigns, they eventually superseded them completely by what they call shopping campaigns. Now, these shopping campaigns are constructed in similar ways and work in the same way, but they have their differences and their quirks and the things about them that if you're not careful about, you can get really caught out. And the biggest thing about keywords in the context of shopping campaigns is actually negative keywords, because if you remember back in the day when we were first building search campaigns, we'd get a bucket load of like a max of 2,000 keywords and shovel them all into an ad group and put one ad in, and then turn that loose and then be surprised why the performance was so awful. And what Google have done with the shopping campaigns is actually very similar to that if you don't implement them correctly. And so you can end up with your ads showing up for all manner of horrible search, user searches which Google considers to be related, and yet they are not related to your product, and they're showing the wrong product and taking people to the wrong page, and it just doesn't work very well.
Okay, so I guess I'm not totally sure I understand the difference between the Merchant Center, if I want a campaign to drive people to my Merchant Center product, versus if I Google Shopping. What's the difference now?
Okay, so sort of excuse me a bit because I'm in this all day every day. I just bandy these terms around, and of course you're right to question me on them because.
Well, I've got my retarded interviewer's cap on. Which is a good cap to wear as an interviewer, because you never want to assume that the audience knows something. So
very true. Okay, so it all starts. If you're a merchant with physical products, it all starts with a database of your products, and this is what the Merchant Center is. So, Merchant Center is always has been, and more than likely always will be, a free resource from Google, and you go and sign up to it, and you put your products in there. Now, imagine Merchant Center is a bit like an AdWords account is rather like an Excel spreadsheet. It's rows and columns in an Excel spreadsheet. So you've got these columns of attributes of of your product, like the title and the price and the description and so forth. And then you've got the product IDs, which are the unique products themselves, which run down the rows. And this is what Merchant Center is. It's a database for your products. So if you're a merchant with products, you have a cart, you have a database of your products, you export those products into an Excel spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet needs to have certain columns in it to comply with the Merchant Center specification, which is constantly changing anyway, so the usual Google situation there. And so when you have exported your products from your product database, put them into an Excel spreadsheet, then you can import them into your Merchant Center. And at that point, back in the day when Google was running this stuff for free, where your results would show up in the shopping results in the free section of Google's organic links, then you wouldn't have to pay for those. And this was just driven entirely out of your Merchant Center account. And then Google decided to pull off one of their usual double whammies, which was a lot of rubbish was showing up in the Google shopping results area. So there were, mangled descriptions and inappropriate stuff and stuff that Google doesn't like to see, not good quality results. So Google decided to get merchants to sort themselves out and make these things far better. And the way they did that was by giving themselves a pay rise at the same time and making this stuff all chargeable. And to me, that wasn't any great surprise. I could see it coming, years before it had happened. But at the time, everybody went nuts. So we don't get our free results any longer, and we can't afford to do this anymore. And I'm like, well, you still need to know what your, you still need to follow the money. You still need to know what your numbers are. So it's important that you buy this stuff at profit because you can't have it for free anymore. So again,
that's just the quintessential problem with relying on free traffic for any business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Something when something is free, which really shouldn't be free, the natural Darwinian forces in the economy are going to take over and correct that situation sooner or later.
Yeah, very true. So we end up then with a situation where Merchant Center, which is free, has to now be paid for. So how do they do that? Well, Google then introduced this concept of the product listing ad, and then you would need a product listing campaign in your AdWords account, which became a special new type of campaign, and you would have to link your Merchant Center to your AdWords account and run one of these product listing campaigns. And at that point, then your Merchant Center products would start to show up in the Google shopping ads.
I see. So I still have my Merchant Center campaign with all the attributes and rows and columns, but now I don't get free exposure. I need to pay for it by linking it to AdWords.
Exactly. So Google AdWords has always had a payment platform and an auction model behind it, and so Google cleverly released this new campaign type, the product listing ad, which took advantage of that and integrated the data from your Merchant Center account into it, so that then your products would show up with their pictures and their prices and their descriptions and so forth in an auction model, which you would then be paying for by the click, just like with search ads.
Interesting. Okay.
Major difference, though, as I say, to reiterate the point, is you are still not bidding on keywords. You have ad groups with a product ad inside it, a text ad, which you can have as a promotional sort of ad, which appears when you mouse over one of the images. But there's no keywords in there. Google handles the whole thing in an automatic way, based on, like we said, things they consider about your product, like the titles and descriptions and so forth.
Got you. Sorry about the phone. Okay. So now that that's the case, how the heck do you control...
Exactly.
Right. So let's go into that. How do you control what it's exposed for? And
this
you didn't know what I was going to finish. I could have said, how do you control your wife anymore? You didn't know where I was going, man.
That's not going to happen anyway. That's a given.
That's not going to happen. Never did. Never did.
But I knew what you were going to say, though, because, if we're all used to working with keywords, right? So if they are the trigger and they're not there any longer, what's going on? How does it all work? And how do you make sure the right thing shows up? Well, you have to make sure that your data feed, the thing that goes into Merchant Center, the thing that describes the products that you have, is optimized. And so this is a whole new area of optimization that has come along. For one thing, there are editorial practices in your titles and descriptions for your products, just like there are with conventional text ads. So you can't have exclamation marks all over the place, and you can't have uppercase letters all over the place and stuff like that. So your feed has to... So I'll continue now to refer to this as the data feed, because that's what it is. Your data feed is your products, which is in Merchant Center, and that's the thing that drives the shopping ads. Your data feed has to be optimized so that it talks accurately and within editorial policy about what your products are. And then there's Google's algorithm to figure out, well, when a user types red widget, which ad should I show? Which product out of your inventory in your Merchant Center database should I show? And clearly, if you've got products which talk about red widgets, then they apply and they'll get into the auction and they might show. But if you talk about just widgets and you don't put colors or other descriptive words in there, then Google will start to struggle to make the right association. It's similar sort of situation to match types, in that with exact match types you give Google hardly any room to misinterpret what that keyword represents. With broad match, however, of course, Google can interpret things quite differently. So it's a similar thing with your product titles and descriptions, and then how Google is going to show those related products for those those titles and descriptions. So in practice, what I've found is that, like I say, the keyword research part of it has gone away completely for this kind of campaign. However, it's very important, very, very important, to keep an eye on the keywords that Google shows your ads for, which users are searching, and in the usual way we find those in our search query reports, right, which we've been familiar with for many years. And so now you'll look inside of a product listing campaign or a shopping campaign, and you won't see any keywords.
David, they're no longer called search queries, just to view the detailed search terms, right? That's what they call it now.
Yes, that's right. View details of search terms. Yes, it's not a report as such, like it used to be.
Just in case people are new and they don't.
Indeed. Once you're on your keywords tab, as you say, you just hit the drop-down button which says details, and at that point you see search terms, and that's where you dig these things out from. This is explored in great detail in my book on Amazon, which we'll refer to later. So what you'll see in there is the same thing that we've always seen, which is all these user searches are there because they are ultimately the things that people are typing in and are then triggering your ads in the auction. And it's very fascinating to see these search queries, as it usually is, because what you discover at this point is that Google is showing, yet again, is showing your product ads for some very unrelated, kind of unrelated, but often useless search queries. And I'll give you an example. I had a client in e-commerce who was selling computer peripherals with makes and models of things. And this means that these makes and models, first of all, are the kinds of queries, the kinds of keywords that people are using to look for your item. And so we would see that Google would show things in category-related ways for your specific product. So, for instance, if your HP PhotoSmart XYZ123 printer was also an A1 printer or an A1 mono printer, you would find quite often that Google was showing your specific printer model number for a general search, like photo printer or something like that. And these are notoriously bad for conversions because they're very general purpose. I mean, there's gazillions of different photo printers out there, and
so
your
how
HP.
Do you control that now?
And then now at this point, once you've found from the search term details that indeed Google is showing this product for that kind of search query, a category kind of search query, then you will want to turn it off for that. So in your ad group for that particular product, you'll use that search query as a negative.
So you can't bid on keywords, but you can specify negative keywords.
Exactly. So you're continuously filtering out the impressions that you get for specific products. And when somebody's looking for a make and model of something or other, that's very much a buying type keyword. That's what they want. They don't want something different. It's that thing that they're interested in more than likely buying. So if your ad's showing up for something general purpose, then it's just research. And I found that conversions are terrible in AdWords for these kinds of things.
Okay, well, that's really interesting to know. It freaks me out a little bit that you can't bid on keywords, but you can bid on negatives.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
now
I understand how that works. I'm obviously not an e-commerce. I don't.
No,
it's
a completely separate discipline, and I've learned an enormous amount of new stuff by going into this whole industry as a sort of specialization. Now, I only really for new clients manage e-commerce campaigns, and this is all about makes and models of things, and this whole thing is a very important part of that. Now, the other thing is though that shopping campaigns, although they are good, they're good for you to have in terms of volume and pricing of your sales. You can't just turn a shopping campaign or shopping campaigns on and forget the other kinds of campaign types like search, good old-fashioned traditional search. And there's another, not a new campaign type, but it's a similar sort of one, which is a dynamic search campaign, which again is automatic and doesn't use keywords. But let's look at the search campaigns first, because the normal way, which we talked about before, of figuring out keywords to bid on for search campaigns is, well, go and look in the keyword planner, or like I suggested to you last time, what you can do is you can build an empty ad group, put in a text ad which has a link to it to the product page, the landing page that you're interested in, and then let Google go online and let Google follow the ad link and go and crawl the page and tell you what it thinks it's about. And sometimes it can come up with good keyword suggestions there. But the other way is, if you are running shopping campaigns, then all these search terms appear for you, you see, because Google has actually done, when you look at the way these search queries relate to the products that you've got, they are incredibly closely matched. They are really, really high quality search terms. And so you can extract all of those and parse them out into ad groups for search-based campaigns. And then this becomes your
interesting idea.
Yeah, this becomes your primary method of extracting really well closely matched keywords to your products to build search campaigns. So what I do these days is I use the shopping campaigns as a basis for, firstly, negative keywords to turn off ad impressions and clicks that don't get us conversions, but also for really well matched keywords to build search campaigns out of, because still, so far in my experience, the lion's share of traffic and sales and revenue is with search, and shopping campaigns are a good addition, but they don't replace that, and they don't, so far as I've experienced, create as many sales and as much sales revenue as search-based campaigns do.
So let's to kind of bring this full circle and talk about a fictitious example, if you don't mind. So, okay, suppose I am selling, I don't know, Uzi 742 submachine gun parts. Right? It's a fictitious example. I'm just saying. Suppose I'm doing that. Not that Google would ever approve that. And I make a Google Merchant Center entry for Uzi 742 submachine gun bullets. Walk me through what I might find in the Google shopping campaigns in the way of keywords that I could then bring out to this search. How would I use that to explore?
Okay, so let's say that you've got, and this is a good example actually, because it applies also to the printer devices I was just talking about, because there are two sorts of things that people look for printers. One is the printer itself, and then or a camera, say, and then they're looking for an accessory for that device. They're looking for maybe ink or toner or a cartridge or paper or ribbons or some such, for printers, or for mobile phones you might be looking for SIM cards or cases or accessories or something like that. So how do you make sure that you only show a mobile phone case for a mobile phone case search and not a mobile phone search, if you see what I mean? Similar sort of thing, because it's pointless showing up something that only fits one thing for something it doesn't fit, right? So in the Uzi example, you wouldn't want machine gun bullets to show up your Uzi machine gun
under standard police
device,
supply or something like that, right?
Because it's too, the search is too general. You're looking for something very specific. So the way to deal with that is to use negative exact keywords to make sure that if somebody's looking for something very specific and you have the consumable for it, like bullets, then you would use Uzi submachine gun as a negative exact, because you don't want to show your ad for bullets when somebody's looking for the machine gun.
I see.
See what I mean?
I see. Okay, so that's how I would control the quality of searches that it shows up on in the Google shopping campaigns. But then how would I find additional high quality keywords to sell my Uzi 742 submachine gun, fictitious of course, to a traditional search campaign?
So what you would do there is you want to sell your machine gun itself, so you'll be bidding on the exact matched keywords for those in search, as we usually do, and they still do tend to perform the best in terms of prices and conversions and all of those things. But like you say, you also want to discover what else people are interested, how they might be looking for your machine gun, but with slightly different search terms. Of course, if they're looking for Uzi machine gun bullets, then you'll be bidding on that keyword as a separate keyword in a search campaign. So when they're looking for the bullets, they'll find the bullets, and because you're bidding on exact match Uzi submachine gun, then that's what you'll show up for. So you've got to have these two. So you'd have two. What I did for this in the past is I've run two separate campaigns, search campaigns, one of which is for the device itself and one of which is for the accessories. So in the device itself, Uzi submachine gun, you bid on Uzi submachine gun exact, and you'll bid on modified broad version of that, so plus Uzi plus submachine gun, etc. Because you want to discover also any opportunities you're missing for your thing. And then in your consumables or other pieces, ammunition and whatnot, campaign, you will only bid on the modified broad match, and sometimes phrase, although I've not found phrase match to be very good at all these days. But you won't bid on the exact match. You'll have it as a negative exact match. So you'll never show your machine gun when somebody's looking for something related to your machine gun, like bullets and the shoulder straps and the magazine cartridges and those sorts of things. So that's how you do it. So you've got two identical campaigns in terms of the device you're advertising, one of which is focused just on the device, the other is on the accessory pieces for it.
Very interesting. And then you look at the search query report to see how Google spiders that out and uses fuzzy logic.
Yeah. Progressively over time, again, you start building up more and more and more negative keywords. When you start this process off, it's quite labor intensive. You have to go in a lot with all these negatives that are showing things. All these search terms that are showing up, which should be negatives, but progressively over time, that burden goes down.
And I have one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think you were going to spend a half an hour talking about Uzi submachine guns?
Certainly not, no. Definitely not. Just to finish, though, there's I mentioned briefly there's these things called dynamic search campaigns. They've been around for quite some years now, and again, you don't read a lot about these things, so not much is said about them, but they again are an automatic kind of campaign. Google looks in its own organic search index for these and sees where people are typing related searches, and although you haven't got keywords in there, they are matching user keyword searches against what they know about in their organic inventory, and they'll show your ads up. And for e-commerce, again, these can be good, but again, you can get these general keywords which show things up, and again you have to go in and start negative exact match keywords are very, very useful in these two scenarios.
Cool. Well, David, is there anything that I should have asked you or didn't ask you about this, or was there any other topic you wanted to cover in this very intriguing talk about leveraging the Merchant Center and Google Shopping campaigns for keyword discovery?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. It's an interesting area, and people who've not been involved with it, mostly people who are in sort of lead gen side of things, they're obviously concerned with negative keywords, but they're more concerned about the positive search terms, the positive keywords that people are looking for. So they're continuously looking in keyword planner and search queries and so forth to build their keyword inventory out. And the intriguing thing about the whole e-commerce thing and Merchant Center and shopping campaigns and dynamic searches is because of the automation and the lack of keywords, we're actually using keywords more in the negative sense to filter stuff out rather than that actually.
That's a really interesting point. I never really put my head around.
Yeah, it's kind of the reverse kind of situation that we have with it.
Because it used to be that the platforms would say, "You tell me what we should bid on."
Yes.
And it's your responsibility. Another thing, it's our responsibility. You just help us out to filter it down. Yes,
exactly. And they, like I say, when you look at a well-constructed shopping campaign, which has no keywords in it, but might have, hundreds or thousands of ad groups with the associated product groupings in there, then, the usual controllable kind of granular construction approach that we use, then you'll find that Google's ability to match your product with these user search queries is actually staggeringly good. But they still can take liberties, and you've got to spot that and filter it out.
Yep. Well, I don't know anybody who's thought longer and harder about e-commerce for AdWords than you have, Mr. Rothwell. And so it's only fitting that you wrote the book.
Yeah.
The AdWords Bible for e-commerce, which I would imagine they can find on Amazon. Is there any place else that you'd like them to go to learn about you?
If they want to buy it on Amazon, anyone listening, then just go to Amazon and look for my name or look for the title, the AdWords Bible or whatever. What I do with the book is, if people buy the book and if they leave a review about it, then I give them a free consulting call.
Oh.
So in return for people buying, and it's not big dollars, it's $19.99, I think, something like that. So it's not a big amount of money, but there's over 400 pages in it, so it's full of good stuff. There's a lot of nice reviews on Amazon about it. Perry Marshall's left a very nice review. You have, some other people have. People like it. If you review it for me, then you get a free consulting call.
Plus, there's a picture of David in college wearing a dress.
That's not true.
Dude, I tried to get some curiosity in there. So they would.
worth a try.
Okay, that's the AdWords Bible for e-commerce, and I highly recommend it. And David, thanks again. We'll have to do this again.
My pleasure.
Thanks for your time and attention. For more information about the products and services we offer to help dramatically grow your business, please visit thecustomermachine.com. On behalf of Glenn and Yoav, thanks for listening.